Hey, everyone. How you doing? This is Andy Hall. This is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. We got a bunch of crazy stories to talk about today. A lot of good news. Some bad news. Mostly good news, to tell you the truth. It's a Monday and got a lot of good news going on. But first, let's do something funny.
Guess I'm gonna spend my whole day in bed, cause it looks like I'm depressed. I thought that I was over it, I guess I'm not over it. I ate a family-sized bag of chips. Bunch of things I shouldn't done, I know they ain't getting done. Listen, I'm just trying my best. Sometimes I just feel this way, I know it'll go away. Maybe I just need some rest.
All right. I love that guy. He's hilarious. I think I've resolved the choppiness to my streams these days. I'm using a landline. But somehow it's still choppy, everyone. So I am going to say that this is because of my computer and because of nothing else. I'm going to resolve these technical issues. Give me 2 minutes, if that. All right, so here I am. Yeah, nothing but technical difficulties here on the Laughing in Disbelief channel. I don't know what the problem is. I think it's probably part of my computer because right now, once again, I'm using a landline. So that really, it's not an internet speed problem. It is a computer problem and a StreamYard problem. So I'm going to try to do some more fixing. I'm going to try to fix things with my laptop and try to resolve the problem. But here I am. Hopefully the rest of the show and the after show will go smoothly too. To live is to hope, right? To live is to hope. I hope everyone had a good weekend. How was your weekend? I had a decent weekend. I was very busy, as usual. I talked with Jack Maturko, of course, talked with Stu DeHaan, who has done a lot of legal work for the Satanic Temple in their ongoing lawsuit against Scottsdale, Arizona, in terms of the invocation. We covered this in the regular Disappointed Cat Morning Show, but it was great having Stu on. We got to talk about the court case itself, what Stu's been up to, and also stuff about the temple. Because whenever I have someone from the Satanic Temple on, it's somewhat just, communicating to other atheists who aren't acquainted with them what they're all about. So Stu was able to answer a couple of questions about the temple, and he did a really good job at it too. Funny guy, smart guy. I've talked to him several times over the last couple of years, and I'm looking forward to talking to him in the future, getting his legal insight on what's going on in the secular community. I also talked with the blogger over at Secular Cinephile. Secular Cinephile is a blog over on Pathos Non-Religious. His name is Andrew Spinazza. Man, I just butchered his name, and I'm sorry, Andrew. He does film reviews from a secular viewpoint. What's interesting about him is that he's a psychiatrist too. So not only does he see film through a secular viewpoint, but he also sees things through a psychiatric, from a mental health point of view. So talking with him was really cool. I have an hour-long conversation in the can and ready just to dump on this channel or to drop. I guess drop is a better word than dump on this channel. And so that's going to be interesting if you're a fan of Kurosawa, the director Kurosawa. If you're interested in film, if you're interested in secularism, then it's going to be something you want to watch. You're going to want to watch. That's it. I'm going to say hello to everyone in the chat. Hope everyone's doing well. It's lamb choppy. I know, Blazing. I think it has to do with my computer. I don't know what's wrong with my computer, but I think it's something to do with my computer. Glad to see you, Brain Bug. Scott Duke, hello, hello. Tobin Templeman, always a pleasure. Jess M. It is a good morning so far, except for my minor technical difficulties here. Sammy Jenkins, hello, hello. All right. I'll try not to take a dump on stream. Yes, I'll try not to. I'll be responsible. So yeah, that's what I was up to over the weekend. Just and of course I was writing on the blog too. And if you haven't seen this conversation that Jack Maturko and I did with Dr. Abby Hafer. Dr. Abby Hafer wrote a book on evolution and intelligent design. This is a conversation we had with her a couple of years ago on the Naked Diner podcast. Because I didn't stream on Saturday, I did drop that video on Saturday. So in case you want to know something about evolution and about the history of intelligent design and why intelligent design isn't intelligent and it's not science, then take a look at that video. It's a really nice synopsis of her work. And like I said, I dropped that on Saturday, so check it out. She also wrote a recent book, well, back in 2019. So I'm going to try to get her back on the show, back on this channel, and talk about her most recent book. Simply Secular Dave from the West Coast. How you doing? So far, so good, right here. Can we hear about the history of evolution of well, actually, she does talk about the evolution of intelligent design, Blazing Wizard Pope. Once again, I dropped that video on Saturday. It's just Jack and me talking to her. It's just it's just audio with minimal visual, but you will learn things from that video about intelligent design and the evolution of intelligent design. All right. So we're 7 minutes into the show right now. Let's do memes. Oh, what are the stories? I should tell you guys what stories we're doing. Alabama, yoga in Alabama. The man who set fire to his own car at a gas station because of a spider. He didn't, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me continue. Ohio. I just wrote down Ohio. I'm not really sure. Oh, very positive information coming in from Ohio about their lottery, their COVID lottery. Variants, Rick Sanctorum fired from CNN for being a dickbag. Good for you, CNN, for firing that guy. I always hated seeing Rick Sanctorum on CNN. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, a rabbi response to Marjorie Taylor Greene comparing mask mandates to the Holocaust. I don't know how much of these stories we're going to get to. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. And of course, we have the after party after show starting at 10 a.m. today. Jessi Bear, how are you doing? Glad to see that you're here. All right, so let's do a couple of memes and then we'll get into news, right? My face when someone tells me stress balls are for squeezing, not for throwing at people who stress me out. Why not both? Why can't we do both? Why can't I squeeze the stress balls and also throw them at the same time? That's what I want to know. I think that would be a banner. I think that would be a great idea, to tell you the truth. I tweeted this the other day. This is one of, Tom Baker as Doctor Who. I grew up watching Tom Baker as Doctor Who. And this quote resonated with me. The very powerful and the very stupid have one thing in common. They don't alter their views to fit the facts. They alter the facts to fit their views. On Fire from 1977. See, that just shows you, everyone. Human stupidity and ignorance. It's eternal. It's baked into the system. It's baked into our species. I forget which episode that was from, to tell you the truth. And of course, the last meme before we get to our first story. Here we go. Thoughts and prayers for use of times of stress, pain, or needed. Active ingredient, wishes. Inactive ingredients, God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit. And of course, in parentheses, placebo. It doesn't do anything. Nothing at all. I'm going to check the chat before we talk about Alabama. All right. Start from the beginning. Oh, really, Sammy? Sammy says, I enjoy having my stressed balls squeezed. Very good. Very good. That's between you and your partner, I think. Here we go, blazing. I think that is impossible, Andy. In order to throw something, it is counterproductive to grab it firmly. Well, this is true. I think, they're balls, stressed balls. So you can, in theory, squeeze. And even if you only had one ball, you could squeeze the ball and then hurl it at somebody. Or maybe you should have a stress brick. Maybe you'd have the squeezy ball in one hand and your stress brick in the other. The stress brick would be solely designed to throw at people. Stress brick. What's up, James Henry? Glad to see you here. All right. Here we go. Simply Secular Dave. If you've never thrown a stress ball at another human, I encourage you to try it just once. Yeah. Once again, I think the stress brick would be very satisfying. It would probably get you into legal problems too. First story, everyone. First story, Alabama and yoga. Alabama will now allow yoga in its public schools, but students can't say namaste. You can't have good news from a state like Alabama without a fair amount of stupid added into it. Let's take a look. Alabama Governor Kay, I'm pronouncing it Ivy, has signed a bill to allow public schools to offer yoga, ending in a ban that stood for nearly 30 years. Christian conservatives who backed the ban said yoga would open the door for people to be converted to Hinduism. The new law allows yoga to be offered as an elective for grades K through 12, while it erases a ban that, over the years, some schools had not realized existed. It also imposes restrictions on how yoga should be taught. Students won't be allowed namaste, for instance. Meditation is not allowed. I'm just going to breathe here for a minute. Yoga, the times that I've done it, I found to be a form of meditation, right? But they're saying with school offered yoga classes, meditation's not allowed. And of course, how are you going to tell students that they cannot say namaste? Is that a punishable offense? Is it a thought crime? Chanting, mantras, mudras, use of mandalas, induction of hypnotic states, guided imagery, and namaste greeting shall be expressly prohibited, the bill states. It also requires English names to be used for all poses and exercises. Oh, my fictitious God, here it comes. And before any students try a tree pose, they need a parent's permission slip. For the tree pose, you got the warrior pose, you have downward dog, but for some reason, evangelicals are targeting the tree pose to be the thing that students need to get their parents' permission from. Alabama adopted its yoga ban in schools in 1993, one of the many fronts in the culture wars in the U.S., and it was a fight to undo the ban. State Rep Jeremy Gray, a Democrat, first introduced a bill to revoke the yoga taboo more than a year ago. His new bill got final approval on Monday, the last day of the legislative session. I think all the links are in the description below. I think I remember doing it. I hope I did. Yoga is okay. So what follows is just some crazy words coming out of a crazy person's mouth, out of an evangelical's mouth, out of an American Taliban's mouth. Yoga is a practice of Hindu religion, said Eagle Forum of Alabama, said in an email that urged maintaining the ban. It added, religious practice in the schools constitute a violation of the Establishment Clause in the First Amendment, as public schools cannot promote the practice or ideology of religion. The group also alleges that each yoga pose was designed not as an exercise, but to be an offering of worship to Hindu gods. I don't know how I was able to choke that out either. These evangelicals saying that school is not a place to promote religion. What they're really saying, if you could read the subtext in between the lines, that it isn't for promoting anything but Christian religion, nothing but evangelicalism. All right, next path. The Eagle Forum played a role in the band's creation, according to Jimmy Lee, who leads Yoga and Love, a nonprofit in Alabama. See, that's a bad branding right there, because evangelicals hate love. Speaking to WBHM last year, Lee said that in 1993, the yoga ban was one of the several controversial policy shifts involving religion, including a school prayer bill. Alabama's prayer law was later struck down, he said, but a ban on yoga and other practices remained. In the debate over revoking the ban, Christians and atheists became strange bedfellows in opposing yoga, Lee said. Notice that the atheists don't want. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't really believe that the FFRF went out of their way to challenge, to say, yeah, we want a yoga banning in school. That seems like a stretch. That seems like a stretch to me. And of course, they didn't, in the article, they didn't say what atheist organization was for the yoga ban. So I think I smell BS, everyone. I smell BS. But at least at least Alabama is allowing yoga in classrooms, even though no one can say namaste. Well, that's a good point, Brainbug. Can they still say God bless you when they sneeze? Well, I don't know. It's dangerous. They definitely can't say God, namaste, bless you, or namaste, yeah. Well, they can still say God bless you. Yeah. Right, dude. Right, Mighty Mouse, they use the Madalas. Yeah, I know. James Henry, the redneck born again to Alabama is alive and well in Alabama stand. Indeed. All right. I'm just following down the chat here. Blazing. Well, yoga is a slippery slope. First yoga, then meditation, then mantras and group sex. And the next thing you know, you're giving hand jobs in the alley while saluting the sun pose. Exactly, Blazing. Now that's interesting, Phyllis. You think there's some kind of repressed evangelical sexuality that's the problem with the tree pose? Maybe. Is it a general practice in the U.S. for doctors to drop babies on their heads just after birth? I don't know. You would think, Mighty Mouse, that at least 25% of the population is deranged and impaired. To tell you the truth, this isn't the first time I've said this. We all know that in the Roman Republic and in the Empire, the elite were poisoned by lead, right? The Romans sweetened their wine with lead dust because lead tastes sweet. So it was a sweetener. Would I be surprised at some point in the future that a historian, it becomes a scholarly consensus that one of the major problems in the United States of America is that we have poisoned ourselves into stupidity? That we have poisoned ourselves into stupidity in terms of lead paint, in terms of toxic fumes, in terms of what's in our food. I would not be surprised. Simply Secular Dave says nice things about me. Don't forget to like the video for all this hard work and talent. Well, at least for the hard work. Though I do really think the stress brick, I need to market that. It would just be a brick with stress brick on it. All right. So let's do, I had to share this with you, everyone. Man, I'm just going to let the video speak for itself, to tell you the truth. That's what I'm going to do. It's some crazy stuff. I'm going to share my screen. And this is exciting and gripping content, I know. All right. This is nuts.
A wild scene at a Centerline gas station. A man sets a gas pump and his car on fire as he tried to kill a spider. It was a big mistake and it could have been deadly. Fox 2's Taryn Asher here now with the crazy video. Taryn.
Yes, it's one of those stories, Julio, you can't help but ask yourself, what was this guy thinking? Luckily, no one was injured. And that's why the gas station employees are now having a little bit of fun with this man's moronic move that was all caught on surveillance.
There's some people that are scared of spiders, but
Would you set it on fire?
no.
How about while you're pumping gas? And if the spider just happened to be crawling on your fuel tank?
Is that serious? Is that serious?
Oh, what is that a spider in there?
Well, this guy did, and Susan Adams watched the whole thing go down Tuesday morning while she was working inside the mobile gas station at Van Dyke and 10 Mile in Centerline.
He didn't have a cigarette. He didn't have anything on him. So all of a sudden I looked out and I seen flames.
Susan kept calm, hit the gas automatic stop button, and quickly called the Centerline Fire Department. The man grabbed a nearby extinguisher and put out the flames before firefighters arrived. Later admitting to what he did, he spotted a spider on his gas tank. Because he is deathly afraid of the critters, he pulled out his lighter and decided to burn it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what happened next. And employees at the gas station have been having fun with the video ever since.
I don't like spiders, huh? You know, they say about spiders. Let me get my lighter here and burn that spider off. Okay. Oh, geez, that's hot. Oh, boy.
We say you seen it on the camera. You dumb so. Do you know gas go boom?
This charred gas pump says it all. Believe it or not, we're told the man's car was barely damaged from the flames. But his embarrassing mistake didn't stop him from coming back the next day. Susan says almost like nothing ever happened. And he didn't have anything to say for himself?
He was sorry. He apologized. He was sorry he didn't know. And, you know, it's just one of them things that happen. Stupidity. That's all I would call it. Your stupidity.
A lot of people sounding off about this story tonight on Facebook. Well, Susan says this serves as a reminder to people that you have to be aware at the gas pump. Obviously, not everyone sets fire to spiders, but with static electricity, using your cell phone by the pump, the smallest spark can ignite a flame.
All right. I think that covers the story of the man who said it boggles the mind. I worked at a gas station for 3 weeks, and I have 5 crazy stories maybe about my time just working at a gas station, self-serve gas station for 3 weeks. It's nutty. It's nutty. Vengeance of the spider god, indeed. Brain bug, indeed. He could have, Mighty Mouse, easily. If the attendant didn't hit the off button, who knows what could have happened. Wait a minute, here we go. I kind of like the idea of a spider fireman who shoots flaming webs. It's kind of like the Torch meets Spider-Man. I like that simply, Secular Dave. And the stress brick is already made. Maybe I could patent the stress bat. I like the stress bat too. That's right. I saw a spider, so I decided to burn my car and gas station to the ground. Makes sense. You know, if the guy just said, I was a little high. I was a little drunk. I was something. And yeah. That's the thing, Jessi Bear, too. Jessi Bear says, I'm terrified of spiders. I never considered setting them on fire. No, neither have I. I don't hate spiders. But, and to tell you the truth, let me go out on a limb here. At no point did I think, wow, I should set this living thing on fire. Maybe, like if I have mice in the house, maybe I should set some kind of like incendiary, mouse trap. I've never thought about setting another thing on fire. That's just crazy. Oh, I have bad news about stress bat. They sell them in pairs. Oh, his and her. You can buy a stress bat, one for him, one for her. It makes marriages fantastic. That's what it does. All right. I got to get to the next. Oh, it's already halftime show, everyone. It's already too much fun this morning. Too much fun. Halftime show.
A pepper cake from 1915. Instead of regular flavorings, this cake uses peppercorn and caraway, which is an interesting idea because it's awful. Half cup of butter. Sugar. 2 egg. You hate to see it. Add a cup of syrup. What do you want, Miss Butterworth? Ma'am, this is very runny, like me in an hour. To a half cup of sour cream, we add an entire tablespoon of cracked pepper, caraway, and then the floofers. Introducing the world's worst dip. Get in, flour. A cup of raisins. Love those. Yay. Bacon oven. Well, at least you specified the appliance. Now, I was gonna bake this in the dishwasher.
Oh, it's bizarre.
It tastes like an identity crisis on a plate.
A pepper cake with caraway seed and raisins. I think that was just people bored in 1915. And they just, didn't have a lot of options. They just used whatever was around and just went with it, right? Can you shoot mosquitoes with a shotgun? Only if you have a good aim. That's a good point, my Demas. Laughing disbelief. But what's worse, the gas pump pic or what I sent you on IG or the spider on the fire? That's that's a good question. But I can't allow my ADHD to get the best of me. There are stories we have to do. There are stories. What's up, B? Glad to see you're here. So what's the next story, everyone? Ohio, lotteries and vaccines. New data is coming in, and it looks very positive about the effects lotteries have, COVID lotteries, on getting people vaccinated. I was quite excited about it. In fact, I wrote a blog piece about it last Saturday. I was pretty pumped up about this. Ohio sees boosts in shots after it announces $1 million vaccination lottery. Ohio has had its highest vaccination day in 3 weeks after it announced lottery-style drawings for vaccinated Ohioans. One of the many themes we do here is trying to figure out how to change hearts and minds, or how to nudge people into better behavior, right? And we've been talking about lotteries. New York State's doing a lottery. What is it? What's the other state? We just covered the story last week, but let's talk about Ohio. The early data is in, and it looks very positive. Cincinnati, Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine's $5 million lottery to encourage vaccination appears to be an early win. State health officials said Monday that more than 25,400 COVID-19 vaccine shots were administered Friday, 2 days after the program was announced, making it the highest vaccination day in 3 weeks. Maybe more telling were people who got vaccinated. Vaccinations for residents ages 30 to 74 spiked by 6% after weeks of steady decline. I guess those 30 to 74-year-olds, or that age band, just were enticed by the lottery. The number of people vaccinated over the weekend is expected to be available by midweek, state officials said. We were really encouraged by these numbers. We have really struggled with that age range, 30 to 74, in the state of Ohio, said Melissa Worvey Arnold, CEO of the Ohio chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. I think it's wonderful that it gave people a second thought. DeWine announced the initiative on Twitter on May 12th. Under the program, Ohioans 18 and older who have already received at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine can enter to win one of 5 $1 million prizes, state officials said. Ohioans 12 to 17 who have had at least one shot, and get this is pretty cool, can enter to win one of 5 4-year full ride scholarships to state colleges or universities, or possibly private institutions, state officials said. A winner will be announced on 5 consecutive Wednesdays, starting May 26th, state officials said. Oh, that's great. I was saying for quite a while, before the lotteries were developed, that there are a variety of ways of incentivizing people to get the COVID-19 shot. We talked about the dispensary in Michigan that's giving people free marijuana. There was a bar in Israel giving people free drinks. Yeah, they were non-alcoholic drinks, but they were still getting something for their trouble, right? So there's a variety of creative ways of getting people to do the right thing. Will we be able to get everyone vaccinated by these methods? Of course not. But if one person, 2 people, a gaggle, I use the term, a gaggle of people who wouldn't normally have gotten vaccinated are going in to get their jabs because of a free Krispy Kreme donut every day for a solid year. I say use whatever means reasonably possible. I'm going to check the chat before the next story about variants, I guess, and vaccines. All right, checking up there. Pepper cake. Oh, really? Pepper cake? I've never had pepper cake. Blazing Wizard Pope. I don't know if you're being serious. I love pepper cake. Let's see. Anthropod lives matter indeed, James Henry. You know, it's interesting. I've been told, we're talking about cake here. Theo says we have carrot cake here, and it's I like a good carrot cake. I believe the traditional Scottish wedding cake is somewhat carrot cakey too. That's what I've heard. Dude, you have Blazing Wizard Pope. It's interesting. About whether or not viruses are animals or vegetables, I don't think they're either. The real question is whether or not viruses are alive or not alive. And my girlfriend, who works in works in biotech, we'll call it biotech, she related me a story in her company about there was an open rolling discussion on whether or not viruses were alive or not alive amongst the scientists and the medical team. Depending on who you talk to, whether it's a researcher or a medical doctor, they have two different views about whether or not viruses are alive or dead. Or not alive. All right. All right, let's go for, does lasagna count as cake? I don't even know. I'm comfortable with saying that. Maybe I should pray on it. All right, next story, everyone. We're running down on time. Once again, we have the after party, after show at 10 o'clock. Hopefully I'm not going to have any more technical difficulties, but I mean, I don't know. It's been pretty crazy. Well, that's the whole thing, isn't it, James Henry? What is the definition of life? All right, COVID, Pfizer, and AstraZeneca jabs effective against Indian variant. And the study, like I said, I think I placed the links to all these stories in the description. I hope I did. The Pfizer and AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccines are highly effective against a variant identified in India after 2 doses, a study has found. 2 jabs of either vaccine give a similar level of protection against symptomatic disease from the Indian variant as they do for the Kent one. However, both vaccines were only 33% effective against the Indian variant 3 weeks after the first dose, compared with 50% effectiveness against the Kent variant. The Pfizer vaccine was found to be 88% effective in stopping symptomatic disease from the Indian variant 2 weeks after the second dose, compared with 93% effectiveness against the Kent variant. The AstraZeneca jab was 60% effective against the Indian variant, compared with 66% against the Kent variant. Public Health England said the difference in effectiveness between the vaccines after 2 doses might be explained by the fact that the rollout of the second dose of AstraZeneca was later than the Pfizer vaccine, which was approved first. Right. Both vaccines are effective. Well, I'm going to continue with it. The thing is that with this AstraZeneca jab and the Pfizer jab, they were 2 different populations. One was heavily weighted towards people who were elderly. One was a general population, so all ages. So that could be one of the variables why there's such a disparity between the AstraZeneca jab being 60% effective and the Pfizer vaccine being 88% effective. Those numbers, once again, might be a result of the different populations that they did the studies on. I hope that made sense to everyone. That's how I try to explain it to myself in my stupid brain. Get your second dose. Dr. Jennery Harries told BBC's Andrew Marshall the study was very good news. The chief executive for the UK Health Security Agency said the study is the first real-world evidence of vaccine effectiveness against the variants, showing the vaccine is just as effective after 2 doses as it has been against the Kent variant. The straightforward message is to get your second dose. Asked about the discrepancy between the Pfizer and AstraZeneca vaccine results, he said the key factor to consider was that different vaccines were given to slightly different groups of people. The Pfizer vaccine was rolled out initially because it had to be kept at ultra low temperatures. For example, healthcare workers who tended to be younger, she said. This is an all-age study, whereas the AstraZeneca went out to older groups of individuals who were able to come into main centers. She stressed that both of the vaccines are really good, and there'll be more refinement of the data. So, we've talked about the fog of war before. It's also one of the themes that we talk about in rapidly evolving or changing situations. We never get the full picture, do we? And so we have to take information as it comes in piecemeal, think about, reflect about, be skeptical and be rational, and make the best choice available, to us. I'm going to check out the chat. Here we go. But German pepper cake is actually flat cookies, not really cake, and you don't taste the pepper. Interesting. I've never had a pepper cookie before, I don't believe. Okay. Here it is, Mighty Mouse. I like Tabanoder pepper nuts, tiny pepper cakes. Never had a pepper cake, I have to tell you. This was my first exposure to pepper cakes. And now we're having in the, see, Brainbug says lasagna is spaghetti flavored cake. I like that. And B says it's a casserole. I would say probably more casserole-y. Though there should be a roundtable discussion on it. All right, I think we're ready for the next story. We're just blowing through this today. Rick, you want to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene? Marjorie Taylor Greene recently compared wearing masks to the Holocaust. Are you surprised? I'm not surprised. Anything will come out of that woman's mouth in order to get her on TV. I'm not going to show her on TV. I decided to clip this news clip, to where a rabbi comes on to talk about her comments and how effing wrong they are. Give me a second. I'm going to cue this up. All right. I think we got everything going here.
Thanks so much for being with us. And joining me now is Rabbi Joshua Stanton, who is a senior fellow at the National Jewish Center for Learning and Leadership. Rabbi, let's talk about why this talk is so dangerous, to compare something like a mask mandate to the Holocaust. I mean, obviously, it's ridiculous to compare a mask mandate or mask restrictions to the Holocaust, but I think even more disturbing here is the potential to minimize the profound seriousness of the Holocaust when you engage in this kind of rhetoric.
It's an appropriation of our history. It is a misuse and a false understanding of history that can continue to cause unnecessary deaths among Jews and among so many people. It is not her place to tell people what happened during the Holocaust. In fact, it is the place of those who are victims and children of victims and grandchildren. If you were to look at my family tree, you would see that most branches have been cut off summarily. So it is not her place. If anything, perhaps it is a bit more of mine to describe the significance of those dark times. To put it in context, and numbers never do justice to the horrible realities, the Jewish population in the world has still not recovered since 1945. Our numbers are still down because we lost so many people, and our hearts remain broken. You cannot destroy a third of an entire people and expect us somehow to go back to business as usual, as though life were just normal. And then to have a leader in the United States speak falsely about our history, to weaponize it against us, to use it not just in wolf whistles, but in actual anti-Semitic tropes, to speak of something like a Jewish space laser. This is hate. The leadership needs to speak out against her. Representative McCarthy has a duty to the Jewish community to either speak out against her or push her to resign. And I so miss the time when parties held their own accountable for words of hate, words that could potentially be linked to violence, and words that are far beneath the leaders of our country.
Well, that's absolutely true. We just don't see enough of that in Washington anymore. Let me ask you though, if Congresswoman Green was watching right now, what would you say to her? What would be your message to her right now?
I would say stop speaking, start listening, start learning. Join me when it becomes safe after the pandemic, God willing. Join me on a trip to Auschwitz. Join me on a trip to some of the horrific ghettos. Join me on a trip so that you can actually learn what the Holocaust was about, rather than appropriating my history, lying about the Jewish people, and using it for political gain among right-wing extremists who have ideals that are not so different from the Nazis who took the lives of so many of my family members.
And we all remember Charlottesville in 2017, the shocking and horrific images of people carrying torches and shouting, Jews will not replace us, and blood and soil. At the time, I had this exchange with then President Trump at the time. Let's watch.
The neo-Nazis started it, sir. The neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville.
I don't think we need to see him. I think the rabbi made his point. Marjorie Taylor Greene. James Henry says Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to be psychologically evaluated. Yeah. Well, at the very least, I think we can agree that she's a sociopath, right? That there is something in her that isn't just faith. That even if she wasn't some crazy politician, right-wing evangelical politician, she would show signs of psychopathy, the lack of empathy for other people, some kind of thought disorder. Unfortunately, Donald J. Trump has normalized people like her, or at least made them more, given them space to become prominent within the Republican Party. And it's mask mandates and the Holocaust. It's absurd. And it is, it just shows a deep dysfunction in the woman's heart and in the woman's brain. All right, so I got a question here. I think, who was it? Who asked? Laughing in disbelief. Here's an important question. Would you rather share bunk beds with Tucker Carlson each night or carpool? I think carpooling with Ben Shapiro would be better because I think I would break him. Over time. Because I could just, I wouldn't deal with his rap battling, right? The way that he just gish gallops over people, his crappy, his crappy rhetorical style. I think if we were going to do a steel cage death match in a car for, let's say, half an hour a day, we'll say a half an hour a day. Oh no, half an hour for each way. So half an hour to work and a half an hour from work, which is normal in the Boston area, right? It's actually a lot longer if you're coming from outside of Boston. But yeah, I think I would break Ben Shapiro. All right. These are important questions indeed. All right, so what are we doing next? What are we doing next? We're going to talk about Rick Sanctorum. That guy. Whenever I saw this guy on CNN as a commentator, I'm like, do we have to have this theocrat? Do we have to have him here? Can't we have at least someone who makes sense? Can't we have, at least big L libertarians, right? They're wrong, but they're words. A lot of, like someone like George Will, who's like a more of a traditional conservative, which I don't agree with George Will on a lot of things, on most things, but at least he's better. That type of conservative, that can string words together, is better than this guy, Rick Sanctorum. Let's check out the story, everyone. Rick Sanctorum axed by CNN over racist remarks on Native Americans. Ex-Republican Senator's April comments prompted outrage. Sanctorum said he misspoke but did not apologize for remarks. Everyone knows. Everyone who's been watching this channel for a while knows I hate bad apologies. Apologies are one of those things that are really simple to do. Like there's like maybe a 2 or 3 step process. One of them being, I'm sorry. But this guy misspoke, but he's not sorry. He's not apologizing. All right, let's check out the story. CNN has dropped former Republican U.S. Senator Rick Sanctorum as a senior political commentator after racist remarks he made about Native Americans at an event in April. News of Sanctorum's termination was first reported by HuffPo. A CNN spokesperson confirmed to The Guardian that the network has parted ways with Sanctorum. No further comment on the firing was provided, though an anonymous CNN executive told HuffPo that leadership wasn't particularly satisfied with that appearance. None of the anchors wanted to book him. If you saw Sanctorum on CNN, it appeared every single time he opened his mouth, one of the hosts would have to be either fact checking him or saying, "Is that really true? That doesn't seem right." Speaking, this is the event. This is the incident. Speaking at an event for Young Americans Foundation, a conservative youth group, Sanctorum said there was nothing in the U.S. before European colonizers arrived. Right? So everyone knows. Everyone who hasn't been brainwashed by the far right here in the States knows that there were people already here. There are civilizations here, thriving civilizations. We came here and created a blank slate. I don't know what that means. We came here and created a blank slate. Now, that might be actually true, because if you consider Westerners coming here to the Americas and then wiping people out, that could be creating a blank slate. We came here and created a blank slate. He said that we birthed a nation from nothing. I mean, there was nothing here. I mean, yes, we have Native Americans, but candidly, there isn't much Native American culture in American culture. In the chat, you can just mention the logical fallacies. You can just point out the logical fallacies here. The comments sparked outrage amongst indigenous groups, including the National Congress of American Indians, which specifically called on CNN to fire Sanctorum over the remarks. CNN anchor Don Lemon, who follows Cuomo's show on the network's primetime schedule, said Sanctorum's non-apology was infuriating. I can't believe the first words out of his mouth weren't, "I'm sorry. I said something ignorant. I need to learn about the history of this country," he said. Did he actually think it was a good idea? Yeah, I said idea. For him to come on television and try to whitewash the whitewash that he whitewashed. That's a lot of white. Sanctorum has not publicly commented. It's good seeing Rick Sanctorum fired. It's good. I wish there was video of it. I put it on replay. James Henry. Rick is a white supremacist. Yeah. And the funny thing, right? Isn't Rick Sanctorum Italian? Like 150 years ago, Rick would not be considered white. He'd be considered Italian. You know, idea. That's right. Simply Secular Dave. Drink. Interesting thing. And I want to go do a throwback to the conversation we had with Stu DeHaan yesterday at 10:30 p.m. He's a lawyer for the Satanic Temple, and Stu is actually doing tribal law right now. So he is actively working in Arizona with being a defense attorney. People accused of crimes, accused of crimes on reservations. So it was interesting. And if you haven't seen our conversation with Stu, it's definitely worth talking about, because we talked about the interaction of state law and federal law and tribal law. Interesting conversation. Here we go. There was an empire in the Midwest called the Mississippian culture. Yes, I remember reading about that. Unfortunately, they were wiped out by the pandemic, which was most of because there were novel illnesses, right? Novel viruses, novel bacteria being introduced by Westerners onto the New World and wiped out a large percentage of the native peoples. Yes, whitewashing of American is not okay, but at least he got fired. At least he got fired. Yes, we came here and destroyed cultures, not just one. What was interesting is how Rick Sanctorum, when he was saying horrible things, didn't make any sense. We came over here and created a blank slate. Oh, okay. Good seeing you, Lone Wanderer's Bunker. Good to see that you were here. Well, yes, James Henry. He does want to warm up to big as Rick Sanctorum. Yep. Let's see. I think I'm covered up with everyone. I think I'm covered up in the chat. All right. All right. So what did we cover this morning, everyone? We covered Alabama allowing yoga in its schools, but you can't say namaste. I don't know what they say. I don't know what the official policy is about yoga pants. Ohio is doing the vaccine lottery, and the initial numbers, very positive. More people are getting vaccinated because of the lottery being run in Ohio. We talked about variants and AstraZeneca and Pfizer vaccines, how they were working on the Indian variant. It seemed to be doing pretty well after you get your second shot. You have pretty high resistance against the India variants of coronavirus. Rick Sanctorum being fired. The man who set a gasoline station on fire because he wanted to kill a spider. If you haven't seen the video, if you're just stopping in, take a look. It's crazy. That's what it is. And of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a rabbi response to Marjorie Taylor Greene's crazy assertion that mask mandates are tantamount to the Holocaust. We covered a lot in only 52 minutes. We're doing the after party after show. Hopefully I'm not going to have any technical issues. I don't know, everyone. I'm like Sisyphus rolling up the rock just to have it come back down again. Hopefully we won't have any issues technically in the after party after show. The link to the after party after show is down in the description in case you want to pop in and talk. I'm going to do a thank you for my patrons and members here on YouTube. Most of my videos, they're either partly monetized, right, because of the content. The name of my last video last night was Satanic Lawyer, Stu Dahan. Yeah, that got partially demonetized immediately. That's just how things work here. So patrons, super chats, anything that, what you do is appreciated. I appreciate the things that you do here for the channel. And I'm going to do my thank you video, and then I'll see you at 10 o'clock for the after party after show. But wait, I forgot to do the last funny video. Let's do the last funny video before doing the thank you.
Was given the job of finding the main rule about clown shoes. It was no small feat.
I'm not apologizing for the pun. Not apologizing. Let's do the video. Hey, it's still me. I'm leaving. I'll see you guys at 10.